Hey, welcome or welcome back. My name is Rebecca, and today we're going to talk about the 5 layers of the human being. By the end of this video, you will understand the holistic perspective of yoga, the way we see the multidimensional being, and you're going to understand what the different tools of yoga are and how they are used to access these different layers of the multidimensional being. If you're brand new to yoga, or if you're really getting into your yoga practice and you're interested in exploring a little bit more of the science of yoga, this video is for you. Please hit the like button below, subscribe to my channel, and then hit that little bell notification so you can be notified when my next video comes out. When we look at the mind-body-spirit complex in yoga or spirituality, we see it as a science. The person or the personality is the single point of reference for the mind-body-spirit complex. When you start to have this deeper understanding of the multidimensional being, it starts to get a little bit easier to have more empathy and compassion for yourself and for others. This is because we stop seeing things through the I or me versus them, and we start just seeing multi-dimensions of beings that are all part of the same thing, that are all part of the one. In yoga, we're all one, but our personality or our individuality is a different expression of the one. When we can see the different facets of the being, and we start to gain a little bit more understanding of where our reactions, patterns, behaviors, thoughts, emotions come from, then it becomes easier for us to choose a tool of yoga to address that issue. Sometimes we have painful experiences that influence our behaviors and thoughts, and it becomes a pattern, and that starts to show up in the physical body. And so when we start to pick apart the being, not literally, but start to look at things through the different facets of the prism, then it's easier to choose a tool of yoga to address that specific facet. All right, so now what do I mean by that? So there are 5 layers of the being according to yoga. And I've talked about this before in a couple of other videos, but this one I really kind of want to go a little bit deeper into what they do and what they mean. So the first layer that we can all understand is the physical body. And the physical body is exactly what it is. It's your meat suit, right? It's all of the systems, your respiratory system, circulatory system, digestive system, nervous system, all of that stuff, all of it, the physical body. And my favorite tool of yoga to address the physical body is the poses or asana. There are so many benefits to the physical body that it's really hard to just kind of skip the asana practice altogether. So I love asana because it makes the body feel more comfortable. It really has so many more benefits. I'm going to put a link below to the 11 benefits of yoga so that you can look at that more in depth. Inside of your field, you have 5 layers of the human being. The one that we can all agree to and see is the physical body. So I'm not going to talk about that very much. The energy body is the frequency that your physical body emits, and it creates sort of a field around the body, and that comes from the heart and the mind when they whatever they create together creates a field, and that can be measured around the body. Some people have a smaller field, some people have a larger field of energy, and so let's just kind of stick to that for now for what the energy body is. And the next layer is the mind and the emotional body. And in this area, this is where we have stored imprints of emotions and thoughts, and it's where the being synthesizes and processes the information that's coming in from the 5 senses. The 4th layer is the wisdom body. And the wisdom body is also considered maybe the higher self, and it's where all the other layers of being sort of converge when in balance, they can have these insights of wisdom and intuition. And the fifth layer is pretty much, in yoga we call it the bliss body, or you can think of it as the soul or the individual soul. And it's where the individual aspect of your consciousness can connect with the larger consciousness. And so that's kind of like your connection, your spirit's connection to the greater spirit, or your individual soul connected to God. So those are the 5 layers. And next I'm going to talk about what yogic tools we can use to address those different layers of the human being. We use yoga poses to address the physical body. Even though there are many layers to the being, the physical body is literally just one. And it's debatable whether that's the most important one or not, right? They're all different aspects. But the physical body needs to be addressed, especially when you have injury, illness, or fatigue, whatever. So asana has so many physical benefits to it that it's just one of those things for me in my life. I really just can't go without it. And that's why I love teaching it. Asana brings movement to the body. It brings flexibility, strength. It improves digestion. It improves mental clarity. It relaxes the nervous system, and it improves the quality of sleep. It brings energy to practitioners. Next is the energy body. Inside of the energy body, we have energy centers. And these energy centers are in different areas of the body, and they correspond to different organs of the body, different systems of the body, and they also correspond to aspects of the emotional body. And so my favorite tools for accessing the energy body are asana, because when we're moving through the poses, we're moving the body in movements and putting them in positions that are not our normal day-to-day movements. And when we do this equally on both sides and combine it with the breath, we start to balance and bring harmony to those energy centers. My other favorite tool of yoga to use on the energy body are breathing techniques or breathing exercises. So the breathing techniques that we use in the asana practice have an influence on the energy body. And there's certain ways that you can breathe in and out through the nose or the mouth, or the length of the breath, things like that you can do combined with your awareness as you move through the postures starts to move energy through the body. So that sort of brings me to my third tool that I really like to use to influence the energy body is intention. So when you combine the movement with the breath and intention, that's when you start to move energy through the body and through the energy centers. And finally, my favorite tool for accessing the energy body are mudras. And we don't often, we see these, but we don't often understand what they're doing. Simple mudras, most mudras are hand gestures, and we see the prayer gesture used quite a bit in meditation or in yoga classes in the beginning, the start and finish. And this one is called Anjali Mudra. And it takes the energy currents we have major energy channels that start in the fingers, and we have minor energy centers in the palms of the hands. And when you put them together, it's symbolic in one way, but it's also energetic, and it draws energy in a sort of a circular pattern into the heart center. And so this prayer position becomes, a moment of reverence and love. The mudras are also tools of moving energy. They're also symbolic, but there are many others. We've seen this one, right? The meditation. Actually, I have a mudra right behind me here on the shelf, right? When we move the hands in different ways, we can direct the energy in through certain channels. Next is the mind or the emotional body. So here, one of my favorite tools to access, so the mind and the emotional body, right? When we get this in balance, we start to have more clarity. We start to have fewer emotional reactions to things, and we start to have a different way of experiencing reality. When you're not constantly reacting to things and you pause for a moment and have a chance to look at things through the different facets, you start to have a different type of understanding of situations, other people's behaviors, your tendencies, your own behaviors, and things of that nature. So when we start to practice asana and start to bring energy, and we start to balance energy in the body, then we start to feel that sort of balance in the emotional and the mental body. So my favorite tools of yoga to balance and access the mind and the emotional body are meditation. Meditation is by far, I think, the most beneficial of all the yoga practices, but for many of us, it's a challenge. And so asana then becomes the gateway into meditation. So I love asana as well, but meditation is definitely my favorite tool for this. My second favorite tool to access the mind and the emotions is yogic sleep. And this, in yoga, we call it yoga nidra. And it's almost like a form of self-hypnosis. You have total control over what's going on. And it's a very relaxing practice. And even if you don't, sort of get it right or get into the state of yogic sleep, you're still learning how to access the parasympathetic nervous system, and you're learning how to access the layers of sleep that you get to. You learn to access the alpha state and some of the deep, the lighter states of sleep. And when you can access these states, it becomes a doorway into the subconscious mind. So when you learn how to do these techniques, and trust me, these are learned techniques, you have to practice them. It's not something that you can just, do. I'm sure some people could do it naturally, but for most people, if you don't have any yoga or meditation practice, you definitely want to practice yoga nidra with some sort of guidance or a teacher. It's very difficult to just pick up a book and kind of figure it out on your own. But yoga nidra helps to access the subconscious mind. So when you start to understand the different facets of the self, different behaviors, different emotional responses, you can sort of pick things that you want to address in the subconscious mind. So it's one of my favorite tools, to be honest with you. Plus, it's like a little nap and an excuse to take a little nap. And fourth, the wisdom body. When we gain access to the wisdom body, we gain access to the higher self, which exists beyond space and time. And even though it's tied to us in this reality, it doesn't experience this reality the way we do. When you start to access the wisdom body, the result is a greater sense of peace, clarity, acceptance, and unconditional love. When we access this part of ourselves, we can bring the physical body, the energy body, the emotional, intellectual body into alignment, and then we can have direct access to the wisdom body or higher self. My favorite tools for accessing the wisdom body are meditation and yogic sleep. And finally, the fifth layer, the soul or the spirit or the bliss body. When all the layers of the being are in alignment, we have a greater sense of peace, and we feel a deeper connection to the one or source or creator or God, whatever you want to call it. Pretty much all of the tools I've talked about previously are what I like to use to access this bliss body. So I like to have, it feels really good. We've all experienced this before at some point in our lives. We just don't really know how we got there or whatever. And I like all the tools of yoga because it's a science, and there are tools in place and things that you can do to actually get there. It's a system, and that's why so many people are practicing it now. So many people are becoming yoga teachers. So many people are practicing on a daily basis. And I believe it's because there are tools in place to, it helps the physical body, which is a great bonus, and it helps the emotional and the intellectual body, and it brings all these wonderful benefits physically and emotionally. And when all of those things start to happen, people just start to feel good. They start to feel better when they're in this state. You get into the flow state. When you're in this flow state, you just feel connected to everything. And that's pretty much the beauty of yoga, and that's why it's important to have more than one aspect of the yogic toolbox. No. And that's why it's important to have different pieces, different yogic tools to use, to practice, so that you can access all the layers of the human being. I feel like if you're just practicing asana, you're getting some of it and you're feeling good and you understand what's going, after a while you start to feel balanced, you start to feel good about things, but it kind of ends right there. And when you start to get into the other practices like meditation and breathing exercises, well, that's when things really start to take off. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video today. If you liked what I was saying, hit the button below, please. Subscribe to my channel, and I will see you on the next one.